This is the PickBits Daily Signal for Monday, June 22nd. 3 Amazon engineers spoke at a city hearing, and the next week, HR called them in one by one. That's the shape of all 4 stories today. Someone speaks, or gets scanned, or gets billed, and the institution with the power decides what happens next. 1. Amazon investigated 3 of its own engineers for testifying against a data center. 2. Britain is about to let an AI guess whether an asylum seeker is a child and act on the guess. 3. Microsoft wants to quietly swap the AI inside your Copilot for a Chinese model that costs 57 times less. 4. An AI you've never heard of just changed how planes land at San Francisco. Let's get into it. This is the PickBits Daily Signal. 3 Amazon engineers went to a Seattle City hearing
that just exploded inside Amazon's Seattle headquarters this week. Engineers, the very people who build the company's software, stood up and publicly slammed their own employees.
The next week, all 3 got a call from HR. They're Darius Arani, Patrick Schlesser, and Liesl Weigand, and after they testified, the council passed a 1-year pause on new data centers, 9 votes to 0. Days later, each of them was pulled into a separate meeting with an HR investigator asking about what they'd said in public. One was warned it could cost him his job. Here's the part that should stop you. This isn't really about Amazon. It's about a line almost none of us check until we're the one on that call, where speaking as a private citizen ends and speaking for your employer begins. That's the line Amazon is standing on. And the chilling effect doesn't wait for a ruling. Every coworker who watched this now knows what showing up might cost. So here's the one move worth making. Anytime you speak publicly on something your employer cares about, say out loud that you're speaking as a private citizen, not for the company. That single sentence is often the whole legal difference between protected speech and a fireable offense. Then go read your company's political activity policy and your state's off-duty conduct law, so you know the line cold before a hearing, a post, or a petition ever puts you on the wrong side of it. Britain is about to point a face-scanning AI at the border to decide which asylum seekers are lying about being kids. 62 groups, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, Liberty, the EFF, just wrote to the minister begging him to stop it.
The UK Home Office is preparing to use AI facial verification technology to estimate the age of asylum seekers, even though serious concerns have already been raised about how accurate this system really is.
But here's the number that breaks it. Even the best version of this AI is off by about 2.5 years, right at the 16 to 18 line, which is the exact line they want it to police. And it's not a neutral mistake. An age guess decides whether a frightened kid gets placed with other children or sent alone into the adult system. The Home Office even admits the accuracy changes with someone's ethnicity. The bigger thing to sit with. The computer says you're over 18 is a sentence a lot more of us are going to hear. How a government treats the people with the least power to argue back is the template for how it'll treat you. Share this with anyone who thinks age verification AI is harmless. Microsoft wants to swap the AI inside Copilot for a Chinese model that costs 57 times less.
Axios broke the story on June 16th. Microsoft is evaluating a self-hosted, fine-tuned version of DeepSeek V4 as a cheaper alternative to Power Copilot Co-work, the AI agent built into Microsoft 365.
Across millions of users, that gap is the whole business. Now, the obvious worry is my data going to China? Microsoft actually answers, the model would run on Azure, on Microsoft's own servers, not DeepSeek's. So that's not the catch. The catch is quieter. Which model is doing your work is about to become a question with a shifting answer you never see. The same task could be handled by a top American model 1 month and a fine-tuned Chinese one the next, picked on a cost curve, with quality that isn't identical. For most memos, fine. For the one where it matters, you'll want to know what wrote it. Follow along because Microsoft names its pick in the next few weeks, and ask your own AI vendor, in writing, which model touches your data and whether they'll tell you when it changes. If you fly, an AI you've never heard of just changed how planes land at San Francisco, and this one is good news. The FAA is paying Palantir about $4 million to read hundreds of thousands of runway incident reports.
The government just announced that it is putting artificial intelligence in charge of managing.
It flagged a recurring danger, and the FAA banned side-by-side parallel landings at SFO. The work started after the DC mid-air collision that killed 67 last year, and it's not a chatbot. It's the boring, genuinely useful kind of AI in government, reading a pile of safety reports too big for any human team, surfacing the one risk that keeps recurring, and handing a person the call. Watch it with clear eyes. Palantir's system is a black box, and the ban rests on the model's read of data we can't see. But on what we can see, it did exactly the job you want it to do. Here's the move you can steal. If you manage risk of any kind, a clinic's incidents, a warehouse's injuries, a fleet's near misses, you don't need a $4 million contract. Dump a year of your own logs into an off-the-shelf model and ask what keeps almost happening and where. Save this as the template.